Hi, my name is Liam Bellamy from RRI Advisory. We're here today discussing small business restructurings in our Demystifying Insolvency series. The small business restructuring regime was introduced in 2020 to deal with the expected increase of insolvencies that was expected to come from the COVID-19 pandemic. It's a simplified regime that was introduced to allow the directors to remain in control of the affairs of the company, whilst offering a compromise to the unsecured creditors to deal with the debts of the company at that point in time. There are a number of benefits of the small business restructuring process. The first one is that it allows for an early intervention by a restructuring practitioner into the financial affairs of the company and allows the company to deal with its legacy debts at that time. There is a lower cost to the process, and the process is much simpler than the traditional voluntary administration process that would have been undertaken by a company to allow it to continue to trade. The small business restructuring process also provides protection for insolvent trading for the directors because the company is not placed into liquidation at that time. Finally, it allows for a binding agreement for the company to compromise all of its unsecured creditor claims that exist at the time of entering the restructuring process. The first thing we need to deal with respect to how does the small business restructuring process work is the eligibility of companies for the process. The company must have liabilities not exceeding $1 million. All of its employee entitlements should be up to date, and all of its tax returns should also be completed and lodged with the ATO. The company then appoints a restructuring practitioner who is responsible for liaising with the company and explaining the restructuring process. The restructuring practitioner will work with the directors to develop a restructuring plan and the value of the compromiser debts that is going to be put to creditors. Once a restructuring plan has been formulated, this is then sent to creditors for them to vote on the proposal, and should the creditors vote in favour of that proposal, then a binding agreement is reached with all creditors of the company to compromise the debts. The small business restructuring process allows for the payment of all employee entitlements that were outstanding at the time of the company entering into the restructuring process. In addition, their employment remains with the company and they continue on an ongoing basis. This is unlikely to occur in a voluntary administration or a liquidation of the company, and therefore the small business restructuring process is a benefit to the employees of the company. The directors benefit from the small business restructuring process because they get to remain in control during the restructuring process. Historically, the company would have appointed a voluntary administrator, which would have stepped in to take day-to-day control of the company and therefore added additional costs to the restructuring process. In addition, the SBR allows for the director to avoid any potential claim for insolvent trading, as the company is not placed into liquidation throughout this process. And finally, the implementation of a restructuring plan allows for the company to deal with its legacy debts in one simple payment plan that compromises the debts at a cents in the dollar rate. To find out more about the small business restructuring and if it's right for your business, or to discuss the financial position and eligibility of your business for such process, please contact one of our restructuring professionals to discuss your individual circumstances further.